where you going? Don't go nowhere. Cause you know what time it is. Hairless minx of the blue sea. That heat rock is out. First of all, happy holidays. Whether you celebrate, cool. If you don't, hey, I understand. But similar to like Luffy and Garp, I was in and out of eating and sleeping, and eating while sleeping and sleeping while eating. But in that time period, that good old hot chapter drop, man, 997. We in here, and it went down. Like I was hyped by it. This is another chapter I read. Basically, just walking around the house the whole time on that good cardio. It was crazy. I just let's just get into it, right? I'm excited. So first off, the cover chapter should have just let us know something was coming. Um, what I want to see somebody do, one of y'all would be doing memes and stuff like that, redo the cover chapter from this chapter, instead of the Santori raccoon, Sanji and Nami, make the raccoon Rayleigh, make the make Sanji Luffy, and then instead of having Nami, just have a table full of food. I could see the same exact scenario with Luffy. But anyway, we get into it, picking up from last chapter with the singing and whatnot. And I didn't catch this really until I read it about two or three times, and it was actually a pretty cool little coordinated attack. Um, Sanji is following what he hears, and like the simp smoke he is, man, he gets around the corner and it's a trap, right? You activated my trap card, Simp's web. That's what they need to switch that panel to. But the attack they did was actually kind of cool if you look. The bigger one that looks like I guess he's a dude, um, pulls her and spins her like a top, and while she's spinning, he attaches it to him, and it makes like this yo-yo effect. So that centrifugal force was, but they can't be. They're probably like above average fodder, maybe, because it didn't knock Sanji out, so they don't hit that hard. Uh, I'm not surprised he got caught, but I do. With which is interesting is especially because of what Yamato says at the end of the chapter, bringing up dragons is something we speculated about with Black Maria in the first place. Is some of these characters, are their horns real or not? And I'm wondering if all the people in these panels may also not be fully human, or maybe just she's not human. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, because they all they're not wearing masks. They look like their horns are permanent. Black Maria's definitely are. So that's although that might be a byproduct of whatever fruit she may or not have. But either or, Sanji got dry mode. But he should be straight because a lot of times in movies and TV series, and I mean even with Spider Man himself, fire usually gets around web, and fire is something Sanji has access to. So I'm gonna assume he'll be straight. He's just he's Sanji. These things happen. It is what it is, right? But Simp Smoke's gonna simp. So hey, this is gonna be rough for Sanji fans. I mean, I'm cool with Sanji. I like messing with y'all too. I like messing with both sides. I'm just like that. But as well as my guy, obviously. But Sanji's like that. Everybody got a homie that's like this. When it comes to women, that they can handle everything else in their life pretty fairly, but it just got some Sanjis out there, and you know, uh, workers of the evening. That's the world's oldest and most successful profession, in the entire human existence, as far as we know. So it's not like Sanji is a one out of a million people who falls for this type of stuff. A lot of y'all are probably way worse than Sanji. At least Sanji's had some success. Just not today. And then on the other hand, though, they don't bring no. If they're using the same bounty poster because it's 330 mil as Queen was more interested in the fact that Sanji was a Vinsmoke. these characters with Black Maria don't seem to either understand. They just say, "Oh, he's a big shot," but they call him Black Lake Santé. They don't bring up the vent smoke part. So I'm wondering if they understand that's a thing, so to speak. As we were gearing towards chapters that should soon include Vegapunk. I know we've been saying that forever, but towards the end of Wano, I just don't. It's almost unavoidable to me at this point, especially because of the smiles and with Momo, um, and then this race, which I'll get into that. But anyway, let's just go through the chapter chronologically, and then after he makes his statement about, "Yeah, I'm simping for you," because that's basically what he says. We get to my guy, the man, raising out to the south side of Shimosuke Village. The son of Santa Ryu himself, Zoro, man. So I guess he finally got tired of running around, and I didn't notice Kiku's arm at first. That honestly, had they not said that, I wasn't even looking for an arm or anything like that. What I thought Zoro was thinking about was Onigashima was crumbling, because the word crumble was there, and there was a hole, and I'm like, is this thing gonna start breaking apart? On some Noah Fishman Island type stuff. Like, what's going on with that? But it makes a lot more sense now. The funny part is, though, and I just said this maybe a couple of videos ago about that, I didn't think tiers characters that are close in strength shouldn't be able to one shot each other. That might be out the window. Cause your boy Apu, Mr. Check Your Route. All of y'all out there, want to talk smack because he quote unquote KO'd Luffy for 10 seconds or whatever. Check your route, GPS denied. That didn't go well at all. And then I know people are going to say, oh, well, he backstabbed him, or I think that's the word I've heard twice already. I'm like, how do you backstab somebody when you're coming in front of someone? Zoro's never cut someone in the back, I don't think. Especially not a one-on-one opponent. He's never done that. Even though they were fighting 2v1, everybody knew that Zoro wasn't trying. Like, that should have been understandable, right? Like, it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm gonna give Apu credit because it's not an easy task what he has going on. And then you gotta think about it. You can't just obliterate Apu, because what if you break the vial? You know what I mean? Then you just did all this for nothing. And it's just funny because he was just looking around, and I'm thinking he was just thinking to himself, like, I'm not a side character. Why am I down here with these fodder? Big Mom didn't even take it. Big Mom just like walked right by us, or flew right by us, and then dipped out. Like, we were not even worth her time. And I'm down here with you people? Nah, I can't do that, G. Not on my watch. And then he finally decided, you know what, that's it. It's enough. Hey, Chopper, you gotta hold it down, man. I gotta get up there. That's where the fight's at. You know what I mean? And we seen that stance, that good old shit. You know the rest, man. Because in the anime, they gonna do it up. All the Zoro scenes, the beginning of the Wano, hype for Zoro, right? When he fought Hawkins, hype, right? All his scenes have been, even fa 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 and Guki Maru, hype. That little slide spin move he did to look like, really, honestly, that move, the way they did it in the anime, it looked like something Sanji would do. I forget sometimes Zoro can move very similarly. He just doesn't, because it doesn't help his fighting style much. But sometimes I forget that he has these unorthodox just stuff, kind of like Mugen, which coincidentally the same voice actor, but like how unorthodox Mugen is. Zoro's similar in that way too. So it's just anytime I see him stand stuff and stuff is getting ready to go down, you know it's coming, man. And y'all in the ZKK, look, I be on that sometimes too for fun, but some of y'all need to chill, man. I don't know how you can breathe with Zoro occupying the full capacity of your airways. That's gotta go. Y'all be tripping, man, for real. I like Zoro too, but let's not disrespect one clap Kaido, man. I call one clap Kaido for a reason. He might get the finishing blow, but let's not. The way people are making it sound is as if like Zoro is strong enough to basically one shot Kaido, and it's not possible. It's just not happening. All right, because right now, in my opinion, and from what it looks like, there's nobody, and I've said it before, there's nobody on this island besides Big Mamu and one clap Kaido himself that is as strong as Odin. And if he can one shot Odin, he's one clapping everybody. That's just what it is. He got Luffy, he got Odin, he watched the Scabbards, you know what I mean? Anybody who wanna bring it that's not Big Mom. I understand Odin was situational, but he still has the raw strength to just this it. You know what I mean? That's a wrap. So, y'all calm down too. Have your fun. Don't get me wrong, because you know, Pika never really felt like there's certain things that Zoro has done that people still just want more, which I understand because of his goals and aspirations. So these little steps, especially in a place like Wano, when other than watching some fodder, all his interactions have mostly been with people who you would consider his tier according to like the story itself, because they're all supernovas. So it's good that his interactions have been with considered equals, at least in their world. I don't know how much the community always thinks about that, but most would have Zoro within the top four. I don't think anybody's putting him at one because that's just egregious. But you know what I mean. Law is iffy because of his ability, and technically, Law could beat anyone. Um, if you don't know what's going on, it's just you just take your heart and that's it. Like that's just it. Even if you're a Logia, so you got to be careful with him. But you know what I mean. For Zoro to finally take it serious, like how everybody always wants Luffy to act in that matter. Like, hey, no messing around. Like, you should have one shot ulti in Pepe on first rap. You know what I mean? Him finally like, I'm not gonna scramble around and yelling at Queen, and he almost made Queen be parking in that. Queen was getting ready to be parking in the handicap spot um, with a self-driving car because that arm was gonna be gone, and I know Queen has one arm that's mechanical, but good luck making another mechanical arm and with zero arms, but regenerate that. But when Zoro finally get up there, man, it's gonna be brutal because King's not just gonna let you walk up there. I'm just joking on Queen, but if Queen has enough strength not to obviously tango with Big Mom, but survive Big Mom, then there's no slouch. This is not going to be just a walk in the park. But at least they see, like, oh no, this Zoro's a real thing. Like, yeah, nah, homie, Zoro's a real thing. Southside Simo Shuki Village, stand up. You know what I mean? It's what it is. Son of Santaryu. Now I'm done with Zoro. I'm going to let him get off of that and get with the rest of the story because I actually forgot about the ports. Remember the whole situation with ports being destroyed and all that? Actually, probably would have ended up not mattering in the end anyway. So this plan Kaido had from the jump. So once again, it just seems like it was intended for him to um, absolve Orochi's resources at some point, because there's no way that Orochi's involvement would have made sense for him to do what he's doing with Onigashima. So it's always been intended for him to die. I just don't think because of that though, it makes me think he's not dead. I don't think he's going to be like an ally. And he's still going to be for himself, but I just don't think he's dead. And if he is dead, Kaido just is on something else to not have interest in his fruit. I assume the Yonko are aware on Devil Fruit Transference. Uh, there's they it wasn't unknown that he had one, and for him to have that fruit in particular, which some people theorized it was supposed to be for Yamato, um, given the name and the lore and all that good stuff. I don't know whether that part happens, but I still don't think Orochi's dead. This part will be interesting for him to see, though, right? For everything that he clawed and backstabbed his way to the top using Kaido, to finally see that now he's gonna live like the same people that he put in terror. Because I've been saying it, the despair of Kaido hasn't shown up yet, and we're starting to see it now because he just lifted Onigashima. Whether it be through science and not physical strength, if he did it physically, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised, right? But to date, I believe this is the largest landmass we've seen move at one time. Because Onigashima is definitely bigger than the node, right? The node was huge. Um, Zunisha, maybe? I'm not sure. It was Zunisha. How does Zunisha scale to Onigashima? But those seem to be the two biggest, besides like the red line itself, right? And Mary Joie, because people forget how huge Mary Joie really is. If you go back to one of the Reverie chapters where Garp is escorting Shirahoshi and the rest of them to Mary Joie before we see the underground where they had the slaves moving the sidewalk. Remember, Shirahoshi's like 40 feet tall, 13 meters, somewhere around there. The staircase that they go up makes Shirahoshi look like an ant. And then the rest of the characters like Garp that's with Shirahoshi on the page, you can't even see them. They're like little specks. And they have these five statues on both sides. I vividly remember this because it tied into something that somebody did a video on. I was like, you know what? I wonder if he knows about this. And I remember bringing it up. But a couple of the statues have spears, a couple have swords, and like those have shields. And it kind of reminded me of, maybe it was just because of the number 10. Maybe there's some ties to something else, like the 10 Titanic captains. But 10's a number that gets used all the time. It just the statues were weird. I just remember that Onigashima is probably around that size. Because when they're fighting on top of Onigashima, in some of those panels where you can see, it's clearly dwarfs Kaido. So it's just crazy, right, for him to be able to do that. And he could have did this at any time. Why now? I have no idea. Um, I really don't. Other than he thinks that the government is making moves that could be a threat to him. Not to him personally, but to what he wants to do. Because, right, regardless of what happens in the end, he could just still survive everything, more than likely, right? So, other than some interference with Blackbeard, supposedly. But now with this dragon thing, if he doesn't have a fruit, then that doesn't even matter anymore because the same powers that Blackbeard could probably generate, Kaido could do something similar, right? And we see what fire from Ace did to Blackbeard. I know we joke about Kinemon, but that's part of his ability, right? And I even overlooked Kinemon's ability because I just assumed it was cutting fire, like a breath of all things sort of deal. When he heated his sword up to cauterize Kiku's um, armless arm, kind of threw me off because I just didn't remember him doing anything like that. So it's just not. He's generating fire similar to Sanji too. I don't know. That's going to be crazy if that ever gets expounded upon at any time. Anyway, not to get too sidetracked with that, but if Kaido is fruitless, then Blackbeard is almost, to me, in my opinion, almost not a threat to him whatsoever. Not like they can't set anything up because Kaido's been beat before, but if your biggest advantage doesn't exist because he doesn't have a fruit similar to Shanks, that's going to be terrifying. No wonder because it made sense to me, right? Because we know now because of Jack, you can have a devil fruit and survive underwater. And there's nothing that says Kaido has to eat or drink that we're aware of. We know he drinks because that's what he does. But maybe he doesn't have to eat. So putting him in the water doesn't do anything because at some point, whatever the materials you use to tie him up down there will erode or become weak at some point. He's just going to escape. So I'm thinking that's the line of reasoning that they're taking with Kaido's existence. And it even ties into Vegapunk again because of Momo's Devil Fruit, right? His perfect copy, which the Vegapunk is trash, might be really based on. It's something that's been talked about for years, but sometimes it only takes one or two sentences in a chapter to keep some things alive and others like, okay, we can move on because maybe it's not this anymore. But you can't say that now because of what your motto said. And even in the previous chapter, we've seen your motto kind of flash some, whoa, what is that? Is there some transformation stuff going on? What's going on with that? So we'll see. But this chapter was so crazy, I almost forgot Marco was in it. And he threw some shade like, what are you guys doing stuck down here with these bums? That's basically what he was saying, like also passive aggressive. But now that he's there and, with Chopper and they can somehow, I guess, off screen, Chopper has surpassed Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, House, Tony Stark, anybody else you want to throw in there, because he just came up with a cure. Now, the funny thing, right, with Chopper and some of these doctors, famous doctors in their series, there's not been a lot, but we've seen that these doctors experiment, right? Why he was so mad at Punk Hazard, and even some of the theories about him and how he could probably help Big Mom and stuff like that. What if, right? What if Chopper being exposed to stuff is how he ends up starting to cure things now? I'm not being condescending. I'm like, what if that's a real thing for later because he doesn't believe in experimentation, but how do you test stuff if you're going to cure everything? So by him being a Zoan and maybe some rumble ball manipulation, he's able to expose some stuff to things that other people just die from. And by being exposed to it, it helps him. This might have just been simple because it's an ice thing. He just said gas, or whatever he said. But I'm just saying in general, this could be a thing in the future where he could just be exposed to something, and as long as it doesn't kill him, he can he can cure it. And that would surpass Vegapunk and others in a way because he doesn't have to hurt people or experiment on others to get the same result. He just has to give himself up, which the Chopper is probably more than worth it, right? Um, of course, that would assume that there would be character development from one of your merchandise. So I don't know how that's going to go, but I do at least try to explain how something possible that's positive for him that could make sense, right? On a deeper level. Because with Hogback, it was the same situation. Same with Caesar. And I think he's going to be disappointed when he finds that Vegapunk has probably done some things he didn't have to, or, not in the interest of helping people through science. Something like that. Because all these smart people, even like Judge and all them, they're all people who have the type of morality that Chopper wouldn't prefer. You know, of course, he's not that naive to think everybody's a great person, but for him to be at the level that he's at as a doctor and see some of these things that people are doing, especially the kids, they basically had them as crack babies because they needed that candy. You know what I mean? Like, that's the horrible thing, to see. So, just try to get some Chopper out there. But it could go that way. But yeah, it was just a lot of crazy stuff. Like Zoro, this chapter, of course. Um, Zoro and Kaido were the highlight for me. And Zoro did something that even Kaido was just now doing, right? Kaido's been chilling, even like how Big Mom, right? Zoro's been pretty quiet about statements regarding to his own self, what he wants to do. This is the first time we've really heard him say too much of anything. Like, oh no, I'm going to take on this person. I'm going to do this because his goal's been so set in stone forever. It's like there's just no reason to even talk about it. Everybody knows what time it is with him. It's Mihawk or nothing. You know what I mean? You don't just get the Mihawk though. Even we seen in the last chapter the baboon that was fighting page one. That looked like one of Mihawk's baboons, probably his uncle or something. You know what I mean? Uncle Baboon out here still throwing hands. Hee Maru, you gotta be careful. These baboons ain't no joke, you know? Ichi gorilla. But for him to finally make a statement, man, it's good. Because even with Kaido, I always felt like he's just playtiming. Like he's gathering resources and playing the long game, but at the same time, he's like there's certain points where he probably could have been aggressive. Well, maybe that's what happened in Marineford. Maybe that was his aggressive move, and Shanks was like, I might need you to fall back, homie. Just for a little bit. You know. we can't do all that right now. But yeah, Zoro's serious to the point where he'll make a statement. I think it's good. We had a couple chapter before last with Nami making Nami's statement. His wasn't about Luffy. His was about himself. You know what I mean? I want to fight the strongest. What they call him the strongest. That's what I want. That's why I haven't used Enma. I haven't done anything. Like I just been kind of, you need everything. He already knows. Like he one shot Luffy, and Zoro still wants the smoke. So you know what it is. It's just you gotta trust him. Just gotta trust him. But Kaido's on some Nick Fury right now. He just took all the shield and I'll just put it in the sky and then I'm just gonna move it here. And yeah, that'll be that. And then we see Law in the submarine. He's saying they gotta leave on it. Like, are they leaving? What does he mean by that? Or is that just a statement like we have to get away from here because it's moving and it could damage the sub? Because he's one of the few people in the series that actually has a submarine. The only other one I remember was during Return to Reverie, them trash dudes who kidnapped what's her name? Like it was like Princess Komoda or I want to like the word Cambodia is in my head, but that wasn't her name, and I'm not confusing her with Compote from the Big Mom Pirates. They kidnapped. It was some scrub pirates, but they had like a beat up submarine. But submarines are, I would assume, it's something that the government doesn't even really want you to have in their verse because it's a submarine. But anyway, yeah, I did notice in that panel they're saying they got to get away. They can't get on the shore, so they got to get away from Onigashima. But I don't know because we just seen Law was with Robin in the basement, and then now I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that because what a kid has to be able to make moves. How's he gonna get up there? It's basically Dressrosa again, at this point. But for Kaido, it makes sense, right? Because other than like top, I guess you'll say, pirates, Wano's not that accessible, and it makes sense because your barrier is Mother Nature itself. So that's part of your security system. Plus, he's Kaido. But sometimes I think people overlook just because one person is strong doesn't mean that they're not concerned with their resources. Because he can't protect everything all the time by himself. It's impossible. So, he does have to have an interest on protecting the resources that's going to get him the mayhem that he wants. So just take that into account with some of his moves. Because sometimes Kaido, you would think, like I said, he's a brute force looking character, but he's pretty calculated in his moves up until this point. Um, a part of his calculations have to do with Yamato. That's probably where part of his plan will fail. But other than that, it seems like a guy who's been just chilling for the past 23 years or so is finally ready to do what he's got to do. And then maybe his lifespan runs a little longer. I mean, we've seen in the series, right? 70 and 80 isn't anything. 70 and 80 in their verse is like 40 in our verse. You know what I mean? For the top tier characters anyway, like Garp and Big Mom and Sengoku. They're even Blackbeard. He's not young. Like, these guys are young, so it's Luffy's one of the youngest out there, Supernova. But even Capone, I think Capone's in his 40s. Who knows how old Bonnie is? Kuma's probably around the same age because he was with the Rev at one point. I don't think he's young either. Um, yeah, his fruit is so busted. And I wish it's a good thing he's a slave. I never thought that's a statement I'd ever say. But kind of like Law, the only way to have Kuma around to even have that ability available is you just got to nerf him. You got to. You don't have a choice. He's too broken because it works on stuff that's not physical, like Big Mom. That's in Law. That's just terrifying. But anyway, I'm rambling. This chapter was fire. I know y'all know what time it is, man. You guys enjoy your weekend. I'll see y'all on some streams. Chat it up. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think is next. Because once again, SSG, right? Vince, we were just talking about Judge Vince Smoke last, and his clones were pretty good. Normally, with clones in series, they're not all that great, but his are pretty good. And they grow fast. I think they said 5 years up it takes to be a fully grown adult. And then he seemed to have some kind of telekinetic command over them as well. So who knows what Vegapunk's clones look like, right? If he's the best, and if that's the SSG, oh man, come to think of it, it's basically just imagine Judge clones that are controllable, but the power level of a real Kuma. That's what it would take to me for them to be a threat. Because if they're just, unless they find a way for Pacifista to use hockey, and even then, they're probably still getting, they're still getting clapped. It's like, what threat could the SSG possibly have? What could Vegapunk come up with? And I think that's something that he would basically master whatever Judge's experiments were, but have full control and full power access. That's all I can think of. Because the series itself has already been geared towards copying abilities, right? We've seen that as soon as Blackbeard was able to eat two fruits, it changed the scope of the series as far as in game. That we knew what we think about the rules of Devil Fruits don't really exist, and they're going to be broken at some point, right? So this might be close to the time now. And then with the different races and stuff, and how that works, like Jack being a fisherman, having the Devil Fruits, surviving underwater, stuff like that. So I'm excited because of the world building part, not just what's going on in this arc. I think Post Wano is going to be just crazy. Because it looks like L's are about to be taken by our side. Because Kaido's moving on up to the east side. Yeah, have a good weekend. Peace.